Welcome to AgencyRise, the podcast where digital marketing agencies rise together. I'm your host, Chris Rudolph. I've spent the last decade coaching digital agency founders, helping them scale, systemize operations, and break free from the day-to-day grind. On this podcast, we talk about what really moves the needle for agencies, getting clients, building a team, creating systems, productivity, focus, and freedom. So no hype here, no guru nonsense, just real conversations from the agency trenches. So today's guest is Tim Sprinkle, founder and chief strategist of Layup. Based in Denver, Colorado, Layup is an investor growth agency built specifically for RIAs, wealth managers, and private funds, helping financial firms turn digital visibility into book investor meetings and revenue growth. A winner of more than 24 content marketing and agency awards, Tim has spoken at South by Southwest, numerous regional venture capital events, and his work has appeared in Wired, The Atlantic, Entrepreneur, and dozens of other publications. He's also the author of 3 books, including Screw the Valley, a coast-to-coast tour of America's new tech startup culture. So Tim, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's great to be here.
Yeah, for those that may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit more about you, your agency, and how you got here.
Well, yeah, like you said, so Layup is the agency. The name is kind of doing the small things right, like playing small ball on the basketball court. But we work with financial services brands, as you mentioned. Played off my background. I was a journalist for a long time, covering a lot of kind of financial services companies, a lot of Wall Street, a lot of business type topics. And you kind of spun that into what at the time was a thought leadership kind of content first approach to telling really boring stories in ways that are resonating with everyday people. And we do that for, I guess, at a long list of clients now.
I love it. Telling boring, like typically like boring or, I can't think, financial services, like you go to a networking event or a conference and there's tons of them and they're all saying the same thing. So I love
Exactly right.
That problem. Yeah. Why did you start the agency in the first place?
Well, I like I said, as a journalist for a long time, I had that kind of writing background. I wanted to find ways to use that skill set in different ways. You mentioned Screw the Valley, my first book. I spent about 5 years on the road talking to every VC in the country, every hard-hitting go-getter entrepreneur out there, and really wanted to find ways to kind of take what I've been doing as a writer, as a editor, producer for a number of years, and do that for that community, kind of just level up the, as I say, it kind of boring content. It's not really boring. It's just very niche. It's very specialized. And there's a need there for kind of what I was doing. And so it was a pretty easy jump. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to write for the magazine anymore, but I'm going to write for some VC clients and private equity clients and folks like that. And here we are.
Love it. I love it. What kind of drew you to this niche in particular?
There's obviously a lot of need there. There's just a lot of opportunity to do better. I always tell a story about when I was covering Wall Street for a long time. You get these analyst reports every day, things like that. Those are very deep and in the weeds. And my job as a reporter was to translate that into something that, for lack of a better description, someone would click on. And I saw that every day that there's a lot going on. There's a lot out there. There's a lot kind of moving pieces that aren't hitting the way that they could and should. And you mentioned how everyone in the room looks, kind of the same sometimes. There's a real differentiation problem when it comes to these types of businesses. Cause a money manager is the same as the next money manager over, in theory. And finding ways to kind of help them do better is a good challenge. It's a fun challenge for me. And it's it's been a really fun process to kind of bring together a lot beyond just content, branding, design, social management, things like that, to kind of really help these folks just do a better job. And kind of level up their businesses to kind of where we are now.
Yeah. Now, I imagine these are like, regulated industries as far as, they have guidelines on when you think of content versus like the Wild West of being an influencer or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe tell like some of the challenges around content that you have to face, when you're working with your clients.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned compliance, because it's the number one reason that a lot of kind of financial services folks are wary to do any sort of marketing is all the rules around it and kind of what the SEC is going to let you do and not do. The reality is, you can. There's a lot you can do. And the nice thing about kind of the content first approach versus, let's say, running ads, which is big time no, is that you can kind of softly sell yourself without saying, hey, please send me a check. And there are a bazillion different techniques to kind of stay within the bounds of what the SEC allows without giving up on the idea of promoting yourself a little bit. And I just said the the absolute worst possible word when I'm talking about compliance, promoting. So you're not promoting yourself, you're promoting your ideas. All of it, the thing I like about some of this work is that you stay within a fence, you stay within the box, and you've got some room to run. And there's still plenty we can do without pushing the limits.
Love it. Love it. Like so far, what have been some of the keys to growing your own agency to where it is today?
I mean, we're big on referrals. We're big on kind of being the network that we've built over the years, and I've been doing this for a decade plus at this point. So just really, it's a relationship business, which is nice because, quite frankly, financial services is a relationship business too. So the folks we work with, that's how they operate. That's how we operate. I think it's a nice way for me as an operator, as an agency owner, to kind of sit down every single day and learn something new, and spread that out to my network and just kind of be at the center of that little kind of world when you're talking about financial services marketing. So there's not a lot of people who do this and do it the way we do it. And we're proud of that. We like to kind of stay ahead of the curve.
I love it. I love it. What have been some of the toughest lessons that you learned along the way?
I mean, the one that I think every single agency owner always learns is that everything changes all the time. When you're in kind of the digital approach to this, coming off of a more traditional marketing background, it's great to have access to all these tools, but every single day there's a new tool or something changes, or the algorithm changes. And back in the media days, we had techniques to kind of adapt to that, but now we're doing it on a much larger scale for a lot of different people, and it's a challenge to keep pace with kind of what's going on and what's working, what's not working, all that sort of thing, so that we're delivering the ROI that these folks are paying for.
If you took what you know now and had to start an agency from scratch, how would you do things differently?
I would do it all opposite. I started this essentially as a freelancer. Like, as I think a lot of agencies start this way. So
Mhm.
it was Tim, the agency, Tim Incorporated. And that was a great way to kind of get things moving. Made it very difficult to scale. It's made it very difficult to kind of change course because it really is anchored a little bit in me, which I think is a common problem, but it's an opportunity, I think, for folks who are doing things a little bit more structured. But when I mentioned kind of how things change and how things evolve, looking beyond content, looking beyond a single service line is a big one. I think that there's a lot to be said for specialization. There's also a lot to be said for being able to be nimble and adjust to kind of what the market needs at a given moment. Sometimes it's design, sometimes it's branding, sometimes it's content. You never know. And just kind of being able to kind of move the ship quickly is a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. I know you came from a journalism background. What do marketers sometimes misunderstand about storytelling?
I think it's when you're looking at the end result too much, you kind of miss what can get you there. Like I think it's probably from Mad Men or something, some line about how advertising can never be considered art because it has a goal in mind that doesn't exist for its own sake. And I think it's very easy, and this is often pressure from kind of the C-suite for marketing to deliver a set goal and a set ROI. The ROI it has to be there. It pushes the speed a little too fast. And if we're doing, I don't know, let's say email campaign, a contact campaign, expecting results really quickly is the absolute best way to blow that thing up and get no results. But really kind of letting it breathe, letting it do its thing, letting it exist and kind of organically grow is going to pay off tenfold in the long run, but it's going to be hard to be patient in the meantime.
Yeah, I know. There are a lot of agencies out there that are trying to scale content production. Why do you think that strategy often backfires?
Well, it's because it's impossible. In general, I think that, the weird thing that's happening with content right now is obviously generative AI. And it has raised the kind of the floor for not just quality, but amount. And so it's very easy to say, okay, we need to have 100 pages of content for this topic to remain competitive in this area or whatever it is. And, 10 years ago, that would be a bit of an investment of time and energy to get to that point. But it would be worth it because not a lot of people will be willing to do that. Today, I can probably spend, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours and do that, cranking out some stuff that will get the job done, in theory. So it makes it more difficult to stand out because like I said, the floor has been raised and that kind of the scale problem has been solved, which makes the real opportunity, the real solution for that is quality and really, real authenticity and things like that. Or stepping beyond. If everyone's screaming loudly into the void, being able to step aside from that and deliver something that's really valuable, really interesting, really impactful, that is how you stand out.
That's good. How do you turn someone's expertise into a compelling story that actually attracts clients?
Well, it's twofold. We have to flip it around and think through the eyes of that potential client. And I did that as a reporter too. You're always thinking about the reader. The idea being that whatever we're talking about, however we're addressing this, speaks to them and kind of what they need, what they want. And the flip side of that is like the SME, the experts, folks, the clients that I'm dealing with who have very deep, heady thoughts. They're doing interesting things. They're thinking about the potential client, but I need to be able to bridge that gap. And so oftentimes it's me as the quote unquote dumbest person in the room asking every question that a potential client might ask, or really probing and really get digging in with okay, you've done this amazing work. I don't understand this. Nobody understands this. How do we kind of bridge that in a way that not only is understandable, but it's also interesting? And, really getting to the real deep nitty gritty of what the impact is, what the point of this whole thing is.
Yeah, that's good. That's like coming from like the audience perspective.
Mm.
That's yeah, like a true reporter. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I know you focus heavily on financial advisors and financial service type folks. What have you learned about niching down that maybe others out there, if they're considering or see the need for that, need to understand?
It's scary. It's a little bit, it feels limiting sometimes, certainly at first. The scariest thing for me when I've kind of gone through this process was I don't want to be in a situation where I'm not doing fun, interesting work that I want to do. And if I feel like if I choose the wrong niche, maybe I won't be in the fun, interesting work business anymore. The reality is it's so much easier to talk about your services, to attract the right kind of clients, to really kind of build the right kind of relationships when you are the single expert on X, Y, or Z than if you're doing it 10 different ways. So it's the kind of thing where, with a thoughtful approach to it. And, I kind of worked my way into this through a long and winding career path, but there are ways to kind of niche down that involve like researching kind of how you're going to find these clients, what their demand's going to be, what kind of resources they have. There are ways to build a kind of a niche wish list that makes it really powerful and really easy to make the decision once you get kind of settled on what you want to do.
Yeah, I also think too. I'm a big fan of narrowing your niche or niche, as my friends overseas would say. And it also, I think it makes marketing easier and like
Mm,
your business development, because you're okay, like, okay, where am I going to interact with these folks? Where are they? Or who are the synergistic providers or the connectors in their space? Yeah, instead of like a big sea of options, you can narrow it down.
exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious, how do you like, you talk about like, you're telling stories of these subject matter experts within financial services. Now, from what I know of this niche, like they don't have a lot of extra time, or they don't want to spend a lot of extra time in like content creation. How do you meet them where you're at to be able to still, be able to do, really deliver, but, manage those kind of expectations that they have coming in?
It's one of the reasons that I say that content is impossible to scale because it comes down to trust. And a lot of clients I worked with for years and years, and we have worked together closely for all those years, and I can get inside their head and, kind of drive as them. My promise to my long-term clients is always like, if you have an idea, if you, something you want to do, something we're talking about, shoot me a text, three or four bullet points. That's all I need. And we can run with it from there. And that works pretty well once you know each other and once for, months and months and years. And once you kind of have a level of trust there, it can take some getting used to for a lot of people. Ghostwriting is a tricky kind of skill for the writer and for the subject. Quite frankly, a lot of my clients are smarter than me, and they have great communication skills, are great writers themselves and great producers, but just like you said, don't have the time. And I think being able to kind of fit those pieces together in ways that not only can do the job and sound like them, but also can deliver the results they're looking for. We kind of thread the needle a little bit there, but that's the real kind of secret sauce. I mean, everyone can, there's no magic behind posting on LinkedIn, but there is a real, kind of access problem when it comes to actually doing it really well and doing it in ways that actually kind of get to where you want to go. And that's kind of where we come in.
Yeah. How is like the acceleration of AI changed like what you do in your strategies?
Well, I mean, nobody wants a hire writer anymore, that's for sure. So
Mhm.
we kind of talk about things a little differently. Like I said earlier, like the floor has been raised when it comes to creating all this stuff. To use LinkedIn as an example, I'm sure you can see the exact same, format used in probably 45% of all posts on that site net right now. And that was not a problem 4 years ago. It has made it noisier. It's just making everything a little bit more crowded. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bad or not interesting. The AI is getting better, so there's some value in there, but it makes it a little bit more difficult to stand out from all of that. And I think that the nice thing for a content person like myself is that it makes it very obvious the value of, just content in general, kind of thinking about this in different ways because it's hard to make a mark when everyone's screaming at you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. What has there been any AI tools or systems that have been helpful as just as you deliver y- your service to your clients?
Yeah, I think it keeps me honest. Like I'll do, for example, I was working on a big white paper project the last couple of weeks and I did, oh geez, 15, 20 subject matter expert interviews over the course of all that time, transcribed and recorded all this fantastic stuff. I would have spent weeks kind of parsing through that and outlining it, kind of structuring this whole thing, toss all the transcripts into AI, and it was able to surface the 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 topics that came up the most and kind of where they were, and was able to try and triangulate between different sources and things like that. Whereas back in the day, I would always kind of struggle to make sure I'm including source X and source Y and all that sort of thing, and pulling things in, saying, okay, here's realistically what we actually covered in this sort of thing, and I can use that to kind of guide my outline and guide kind of the way that I write the pieces, and pull in from different sources as I need to.
That's really interesting. We're gonna enter a rapid fire round. I'm gonna fire off a quick question to you, and you can fire back an answer.
Let's do it.
What's one tool or a piece of software that makes you more effective?
Otter.
Mm,
And just because I transcribe everything all my communications are now recorded and transcribed, which was a dream of mine from years ago. And now I can always look up and find what I need. Makes my life so much easier.
love it, love it. What's one daily habit you swear by? It could be personal or business related.
I spend about half an hour every morning studying a foreign language. I've been just kind of jumping around different apps doing this, but it's one of those kind of goals for me is to just be more deliberate and kind of doing something that's not what I normally do. And I settled on that. It doesn't have to be that every time, but that's kind of where I am at the moment because it's been winter. But I think that kind of having that little bit of time in the morning is important for me to kind of keep me grounded and keep me going.
I love that. What's the language you're diving into right at the moment?
I wish it was more exciting, but it's just Spanish. In part because I went to Spain last year and realized my Spanish is terrible, so I need to
Okay,
do a better job.
love it. What's one book or mentor who has really impacted you?
I'll go to books in part because it's sitting right in front of me. But Michael Pollan and a lot of what he was doing back in the day with some of his financial services coverage is kind of what got me to where I am right now. Liar's Poker is a great book, and it's one that when I think about taking something that I don't understand and making it fun, that's the one. And I think that kind of as a Reddit reporter back in the day, like there's always things that I would point to, but that's a really direct line between kind of how I think about what I do now and kind of where I came from.
That's good. And what's one final piece of advice that you'd give agency founders who are listening right now?
Don't get over your skis. I think that like just kind of staying as tight and nimble on what you would want to do and how you want to get there is the most important thing. It's really fun to grow an agency. It's also really less fun to have things swirl around on you. And I think that the benefit of this model and the benefit of this whole business is that it's very nimble and very easy and very, the creative side of it is really can really drive the bus, but you got to be careful. It's still a business. So that's the deal.
Good advice. Good advice. Where's the best place online to learn more about you and your agency?
So our website is wearelayup.com. And that's got all the information there.
Awesome. Well, Tim, this has been great. Hey, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing all this the great insight and wisdom.
For sure. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. And for everyone tuning in from the gym, in your car, or at your desk, thanks for joining us. If this episode was helpful for you, be sure to subscribe and share it with another agency founder who could benefit from it because agencies don't rise alone, they rise together. This is Agency Rise.